The next item on the agenda is the key performance results, June 2022. And could I invite Peter Ryan just to introduce the report for us?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning. Right, just a little overview before we open this up for questions. Obviously, this is the year-end results. And as we've talked about in previous meetings, obviously services were affected by COVID right through the whole year. Those in particular that were affected were things like the art gallery and museums, where visitors just simply weren't going to be present. That's a little bit outside our control. In the case of capital, obviously there are supply chain and cost escalation issues that you've heard about repeatedly. So what I'd like to just emphasise is that we finished about 5% below where we wanted to on levels of service. But to put that in perspective, while our society was affected by COVID, so were our staff. In fact, our people were as affected as anybody. The fact that they were able to maintain services at around 80%, looking for 85%, in a year when many of our private institutions and companies were basically unable to operate, is a little bit too easy to skip past. To achieve that, a lot of people had to make extraordinary sacrifices to keep their services running. They had to juggle things and they had to tie it up with number 8 and make it work no matter what was going on. So finishing at around 80% on our services to the community is not that different from some years when we haven't had COVID. So I just really want to stress for a moment how much and how many people had to do a lot of things to make that happen. Similarly with capital, many of our private building companies couldn't operate during the year. Our capital program finished a bit lower on watch list, but very close to target on non-watch list projects. Again, that's due to extraordinary juggling on the part of the teams involved to just make it work. So again, finishing fairly close to the mark despite all of that. As you're aware, we're operating to a large operational budget surplus, so financially, OPEX looked extremely solid for the year. And in terms of planning for future capital, we completely planned out for the year ahead and mostly planned out for the year after that, which is quite a stretch. So in terms of feeding that end of the capital pipeline, we're in a strong position for the next 18 months to 2 years. So hopefully, as you'll get more detail in the capital report, as the international situation hopefully clarifies into 23 and 24, the planning we've put in place should be able to put us in a strong position to take advantage of supply chains when they are restored. As for cost, that's a whole other matter. So look, that's the overview. There is a lot of detail there, but it's very similar to the last 6 months of report. The situation has been very stable at close to normal delivery. So at that point, I'd probably like to throw this open to questions, if that's all right.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Peter. Are there any questions from councillors? Jimmy Chen.
One question, paragraph 1.4. You mentioned watch list, the project delivery will be delayed, because except the ongoing supply chain delay, there will attention how many years?
Look, I'm probably going to defer to Andrew and the PMO team on exactly what's expected in terms of supply chain issues over time and cost escalations over time. That's the $64 million question for everyone on the planet at the moment. When is this going to clear up? If I knew, I'd probably be out there making a lot of money. So, look, the best information will come from the PMO team, who've got more analysis on that than I do. So if it's okay with you, I might let that rest.
That's what I just asked. And also, following the item, we have carried forward so many capital programs, whether let's mitigate this effect.
But we've also bought quite a lot back. So, I mean, the answer is complex.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yanni.
Do we have any sense of, just on page 263, is that the right report, or have I skipped one?
I'm sorry, I'm working on a paper version. Can you give me a title or a code that you're working to?
So it's just it's just the GOA transport.
Right.
Sorry, and then just go down.
263.
Sorry, I've just now lost the place.
If you could just tell me, I'm on transport, if you could just tell me which measure you're talking to.
Yeah, sorry, it was just the one above transport. So it's strategic planning, future development, and regeneration.
Got it, yep.
That LTP, deliver integrated spatial planning that supports growth and development and meets needs of community, adopt spatial plan for Christchurch. The Otitahi Christchurch plan has not been adopted. And I was just, I guess just trying to understand, like, if we've got a revised date for that to be adopted. I know it's now said it's going to be after the election, but I was just wondering if we had any greater certainty around.
Look, I think if there were a certain date, it would have been listed there. What they're really saying is they'd like to work with the new council on what the new council wants to do, rather than try to put something to bed and then face a new set of councillors, which would be kind of closing the door and preempting their involvement in decision making. So I think it's an open book as to what does the new council want. If they are happy with the existing work, then it would proceed. But if they want a major rewrite, then that changes the dates.
Okay.
So the answer is kind of as long as a piece of string, depending on the new council. Is that a fair?
Yeah, no, and it's been fully briefed to councillors. Councillors know where things are up to.
Okay.
So,
And it does link into the Greater Christchurch
Yes.
spatial planning process, and it does link into RMA reform. And anyone who thinks that things aren't going to fundamentally change with the RMA reform process are dreaming. And I think Christchurch being prepared as it can be, in conjunction with the work that its partners are doing, is absolutely vital. So it is for the incoming council to take this seriously and progress it as quickly as they can.
There are a lot of moving parts, so I think trying to put a date on it would be a bit...
It's impossible to put a date on it, but councillors already know that.
Okay.
Pauline?
Sure.
Thanks, Leanne. I've got a question on the target, the measure target for the real water loss. So I was wondering if I should leave that to when Helen's doing the report, or do you want me to ask it now?
It's probably easier if we wait till Helen's in front of the table on all of the water issues, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yep. Are there any other questions for Peter? Well, thank you very much. It's always good to have you here with this report, and so it's the key performance report. So I'm Andrew to move this motion. Do I have a seconder? Jimmy Chen. Andrew.
I'd like to speak to this if I can. This is a report that would have normally come to the Finance and Performance Committee. And this, of course, is the year-end report, the report that gives us the year-end results. And I'd just like to echo the comments made by Peter in his introduction about the challenges that we faced in the financial year that we're looking back on. And in the circumstances, the results are impressive and have left us in a far stronger position than I think anybody might have expected. We received updates as we went through the year, and there's nothing in this report that comes as a surprise. I think one of the pleasing things is that we are left in a better position than we might have expected as we move through the year. Everything that we're hearing is that supply chain and resource availability issues, whilst they may start to ease, will take some time to resolve. We may well be operating in usual and volatile and uncertain times for some time to come. It's also pleasing to hear that all of that has been sensibly taken into account in future planning and forecasting, and in fact there was reforecasting for the annual plan that we looked at in June, which was able to be taken into account in this same way. So this report's where we approve operational and capital carry-forward requests. They're well detailed in the report, and the explanation of them is also clear. It builds on explanations and forecasting that have been provided to us as we've moved through the previous months of the year as well. So I'd just like to thank and congratulate everybody, in fact, involved in contributing to these results in what really have been extraordinary and particularly unusual circumstances.
Thank you. Yanni.
Thank you. Yeah, I do want to acknowledge the work that staff have done and what obviously has been very challenging times. I just wanted to acknowledge in the transport section that our measure around the roadway condition, our target is greater than 5% of the sealed local road network is resurfaced per year, and we only managed to do 2.8% this year. And some of the main reasons that were given were understandable: COVID-19 lockdowns, supply chain issues due to COVID-19, but actually also the earthquake legacy, the abundance of pre-seal repairs due to the under-maintained status of road and backlog of earthquake repairs, which delays the delivery of our road surfacing projects. So, I was lucky enough at our community board briefing yesterday to hear some of the new approaches staff are taking to try and get on top of the road condition. And I think it would be really good if there was a way in which maybe a video or maybe in a public forum that could be presented, because I guess for those of us who have been concerned about this since the earthquake, that it's been going on for a really long time, and I guess it's just not to underestimate the challenge that we still face as a city because of the earthquake legacy, with the work that Skirt did and the patch repairs as opposed to the renewals. The other thing that I think is worth drawing out is the condition of the footpaths, and we actually haven't done the condition assessment. So, I know we've had a lot of briefings on things like asset management, but I do find it quite concerning that due to a lack of operational funds in FY 2022, we haven't done a condition assessment for footpaths. And I really support if we could consider at some stage looking to put that condition assessment in place, because how else do we prioritise where we spend the money on what's the biggest priority. So I just wanted to acknowledge that we've still got a huge amount of challenge around the condition of our roads and footpaths, that staff are taking what I think is a new and innovative approach to trying to get on top of it, but that we still have a number of earthquake legacy issues that we need to address. And I think at some stage we need to consider if we do need to make additional resource available to deal with those challenges that we face. But again, just wanted to acknowledge the work that staff have done. The other thing is I do look forward to getting the strategy and policy work planning program so that we can see what's where, because there are a number of things that I know that would be great to either continue doing and get finished, or things, if they're being put on hold, to have some visibility of what will be put on hold, obviously with the challenges that we're faced with the post-COVID or the current COVID situation.
Is there anyone else? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank
Leanne,
you.
Look, could I have a few seconds, please, Leanne? I just want to say goodbye to some of the departing councillors, because
okay.
as you know, the August report is a skip while we reorganise the financial systems and so on. So I won't see some of you until before your departure. So I would just like to thank those councillors who are leaving for your trust and goodwill over many years, through various opportunities, crises, and for your service to the city. Good luck and go well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank